Hey everyone, this is Joshua Kirk here with you once again. Now it's time for episode 65 of Album of the Day, in which today's artist is a group from Glasgow, Scotland, who are definitely one of Europe's most beloved indie rock bands out there. The band is called Belle and Sebastian, and I'm here to talk about their third album, released in September of 1998, following the very successful and brilliant second album, If You're Feeling Sinister. The album is called The Boy with the Arab Strap, which this is my CD copy of it. And the track listing on this album is It Could Have Been a Brilliant Career, Sleep the Clock Around, Is It Wicked Not to Care, Ease Your Feet in the Sea, A Summer Wasting, Seymour Stein, A Space Boy Dream, Dirty Dream Number 2, The Boy with the Arab Strap, Chick Factor, Simple Things, and The Roller Coaster Ride. And this is released on Jeepster and Matador. And the liner notes are actually on the back instead of in the booklet. That's pretty unusual. Anyway, that's this is what the booklet looks like. It's got the lyrics in there and some photos. And there's the black disc there. So that's my copy of The Boy with the Arab Strap. And now I'll tell you what I really like about this album and why I think it's one of my favorite, indie albums at the moment. Like, the album definitely has some very smart, clever, and very thoughtful lyrics that really do, for whatever reason, connect with me in a lot of different ways. The instrumentation on here is really beautiful and very lush. There's a bunch of unusual instruments on this album, which I love to hear that in music when bands try to, jazz things up a little bit. And the vocals on here are a very good way of expressing the lyrics. Like, they're definitely very shy and quiet, like whisper quiet at times. But yeah, they really do fit in with the overall aesthetic of some of the songs. The opening track on here is It Could Have Been a Brilliant Career, which talks about 3 people who had a stroke at the age of 24, and in their life they've been, just kind of, it's about 2 people that just, weren't good at expressing themselves or anything, and were just kind of faking it, and, trying to be cool or something like that, and that results in, like, an uproar with the public. The opening verse talks about a guy who, challenged everyone to a fight, which caused everyone to just run him out of town. Because of how much he was addicted to drinking and, swearing and stuff like that. And the second verse talks about someone finding clients to finance their strategies and wearing the clothes of an emperor who basically just paints a lot of shams, as people would call it. And then the third verse talks about someone who sells lies to people, and he just keeps playing the fool, and he's just sorry and resigned. Like, the lyrics on that, the instrumentation on that song is pretty straightforward, but the lyrics on that song are what make it such a great opener for the album, because right off the bat, that this isn't some run-of-the-mill indie album. This is something that, is from a band who's very intelligent and just really does think a lot about what they're doing. Um, the second track on here is Sleep the Clock Around. And let me say, this is definitely one of my favorite Belle and Sebastian songs. Not just on this album, but in general, pretty much. The instrumentation on that song sounds great. I really like the trumpet solo on there, and then hold on, just kind of clearing out my throat a little bit. Yeah. Excuse me for that. But anyway, the instrumentation on Sleep the Clock Around just sounds great. I really like, the trumpet solo on there, as well as, there's some really nice bagpipes at the end, and the song also introduces the band kind of branching out a little bit with instrumentation, not just with the bagpipes and the trumpet, but also, the band has some pretty fair use of synthesizers on this album. There's a distinctive little synth line that comes through, towards the second half of it, but somehow it does work with everything, and, whether it's acoustic instruments or electronic instruments, this song proves that, you can really just kind of take in all the different instruments and just, listen to the sounds and, you'll just feel really good, when you listen to it. The third song on here is It Wicked Not to Care? And this is one song in the album that introduces someone other than Stuart Murdoch doing the lead vocal. And in this case, it's as Isabel Campbell, which her lead vocals on the song sound really beautiful. And the guitar playing on that song sounds really nice. It's kind of a chilled out tune, so that allows for the sounds of everything to, just sound so kind of, laid back and, kind of the relaxed feel of the instrumentation on the song sounds great. And the lyrics do reflect on kind of a relationship where you're kind of, asking yourself, would you love someone as an equal? Would you love them till they're dead? And this song, definitely does fit with the overall kind of, quiet aesthetic with the album. This album definitely has some of Belle and Sebastian's quieter material on it, that's for sure. And the fourth track on here is Ease Your Feet in the Sea, and to be honest, this is probably my least favorite track on the album. I do like the lyrics on that one. I like how the lyrics are a lot darker on this song than they are on other Belle and Sebastian songs, and the relaxed vibe sounds pretty good on here. It's the vocals, and I'm kind of on the fence with here on this track. They just have a little too much reverb on it, which makes the recording sound kind of muddy, in my opinion. But, it's not a bad song. But, I'm just saying that, it's, all I'm saying is just wish the vocals didn't sound as muddy on the recording on here as they really do. And I even skipped over this track a couple of times when I put this album on. But it did start to grow on me when I paid more attention to the lyrics and stuff like that. Track number 5, A Summer Wasting, talks about how summer is the kind of season that when you got nothing to do, nothing to think about, summer's a real idle season. It tends to get a little negative after a while, and to the point where you're just, it talks about how summer's the season where you tend to waste away a little bit, whether it's, certain obsessions in your mind, or, or you staying up all night and procrastinating, and all that stuff. So it basically talks about how, if you're wasting summer away, how come you could feel so free that way? So it's definitely a very smart track lyrically. Even though wish it was longer. It's a pretty short track. It's just a couple of minutes. Just wish the track was longer, but the lyrics on that song are very smart and clever in my opinion. Like, this album definitely has a lot of clever ideas on it that make it a pretty, complex album. The sixth track on here, Seymour Stein, talks about the pressure of getting a record deal. It talks about how, you're just not in the mind for it, and you're just not ready for it. Your thoughts are kind of far away from what a record label could do to you. And plus it kind of partly talks about that, with society having a lot of impact on you, but it also does talk about a relationship a little bit when, you feel like, they're just kind of taking everything good away from you or something like that. So it kind of makes sense for this band to write a song about something like that, because a lot of indie bands kind of deal with the pressure of labels a little bit, and they're just not in the mind for it, and they're more focused on making the music they want to make rather than just kind of being a big part of the media or something like that. They don't want to do that or anything. And Stevie Jackson sings the lead vocal on this track, and let me say, I do like his he has a very unusually low voice on here, which sounds really nice. It's pretty nice to hear the distinctive voices of different members of the band on this album. So it's nice to hear the voice of Stevie Jackson on here, as well as hear his really nice guitar, as well as hearing his nice guitar riffs that aren't really noisy or anything, but more just kind of very sweet, listening to it's kind of like, a cup of tea, pretty much. A Space Boy Dream opens up the second half of the album, and it has bassist Stuart David basically narrating with this interesting monologue about a young boy who had a really bad dream of being in space with his dad and his sister, and they all had to go in their ship one at a time. And it basically talks about how when you have a bad dream, if it's that bad, if the dream's that terrifying, it just feels so real in your sleep, to the point where you're just kind of facing reality of dreams a little bit. So it basically, it's a very, relatable monologue about how, dreams can feel very real and very scary. That's for sure. And this track has a lot of, jazz instrumentation on it. I really like the smooth electric piano on here. The string arrangements in the middle sound pretty nice too, and it has a little bit of psychedelics going on with the echoey piano. And then, did I hear melodica on this song a little bit too? I definitely heard something like that. It's like a harmonica type instrument. And then the second half of the song, the tempo changes, and there's bongos and some unexpected trumpet blasts, and then some organ. And plus, it has a pretty nice organ solo at the end from Chris Geddes. And then following that little track that basically ties the whole album together is the eighth track, one of the best on here, Dirty Dream Number 2. I love the string arrangements on it, especially those arrangements at the end. I thought they were really nice. And lyrics talk about when you got nothing to do in a town where there's nothing to do, pretty much, literally. Um, that kind of allows your mind to, just kind of run wild, and talks about how when your imagination runs wild, your thoughts tend to go into your dreams, and the dreams don't even seem real. Like, you know, you know, when you try to tell people about it, they'll be like, wow, those aren't the most realistic things you could think of. Um, so it's definitely a song, like I can definitely relate to the lyrics on songs like this, because, there are moments where when I got nothing to do, my imagination kind of runs wild, and, my dreams don't really seem realistic. So it's pretty much, it kind of comforts me to know that there's songs out there that talk about these kind of things too. Um, the title track, "The Boy with the Arab Strap," has lyrics dealing with a seedy little town, and it basically talks about the negatives with society, not just with this town, but like there's a verse in here that talks about politics. That just talks about politics, you know having a lot of negative stuff going on with it. So it's very smart that it talks about how bad society tends to be. And the instrumentation on the song is really nice, very adventurous track musically. Like, there's a recorder solo in the middle of the song, and then there's like the use of bongos and a weird string synthesizer. And then some really nice piano on the track too. True. And there's like some hand claps in the background that add a certain kind of energy to the song, which sounds right at home on the song. And then following that is the 10th track, "Chick Factor," which once again has Stevie Jackson coming in for the lead vocal. And it has a little bit of Beatlesy kind of psychedelicness to it, especially with the mellotron flutes on there, which sound pretty cool. Cool. And then there's this real sad cello that sounds right at home on the song. Like this song it's definitely one of Belle and Sebastian's best when it comes to some of those quieter songs. And then following that is the 11th track, pretty much like a little, half a song, pretty much. "Simple Things." But yeah, this song somehow manages to work with the overall aesthetic with the album, even though it's a pretty straightforward tune. But it kind of has to stay straightforward, pretty much. And then the album closes with the 6-minute epic, "The Roller Coaster Ride," which is also which is a pretty nice closer for the album, because it helps make sure that the whole thing closes off easy, as well as goes down pretty much the whole time easy. Like I do like the combination of the slide guitar and the trumpet at the end of the song. And Isabel Campbell's harmonies are really nice on here. I like how, accompanying the lead vocal, there's these angel harmonies, which just fit in with the song. So pretty much overall, the album I think is definitely one of the best indie albums of the 90s. The 90s was definitely really when indie music started to come on to the scene, and and then there were certain music critics talking about it a little bit. I mean, it was really, I think it was really, Elliott Smith's second album that really did help the indie scene kind of get a lot of attention, both from critics and from listeners. To show that the 90s was more than just the decade of grunge or Britpop. Pop. So the boy with the A-rub strap, I'm gonna have to give a 9 out of 10. It's literally that beautiful and lovely of an album. So if you've never heard of Belle and Sebastian, I would highly recommend maybe starting with this one, or if you want to go a little earlier into their career first, check out If You're Feeling Sinister. Great album, very, very quaint lyrics. The instrumentation on there is really good. Definitely one of the better, albums that I've heard from an indie rock band. Or maybe I should call these indie pop bands, because they're not really noisy. They're definitely very quiet. So if you want to listen to indie music, but you want something a little more peaceful, this is the band to go for here. This is the band to go for here, if you're looking for a really nice indie pop album. So that's my review of The Boy with the A-Rub Strap. Highly recommended. See you for episode 66.